class. My dad did not go to college. My mom did, and she was a university instructor in nursing at what used to be Pan American University. It's had several different names. Now it's UT Rio Grande Valley down in Edinburgh in South Texas. And I was born 2 months after Sputnik launched to become the first human-made object to orbit the Earth. And so I really grew up in the days of the space age, watching the missions, dreaming about it like every other just red-blooded kid on the planet, dreaming about doing it myself. When I was about 12 or 13 years old, I was 11 when we landed on the moon. We were still doing lunar missions, so I had to be about 12. And I remember laying on my back on a Boy Scout camp out along one of the lakes on the Rio Grande River late at night as the campfire died down, looking up at the stars, and it came to me and I said, you know, I want to do that. That was a very improbable kind of dream. It was very improbable. But I had no idea how that was going to happen. But that kind of was in the back of my mind all the way along as I went through school, and I got to A&M because a high school physics teacher, Roberto Gonzalez, was convinced I needed to be an engineer. And he arranged for another teacher to actually take me to College Station to see the campus for the first time. I'd never been there. And I said, ooh, I like this. And I wanted to go to A&M very badly. And there's a story they tell, the core recruiting guys tell in College Station, that there's an element of truth to it. It's grown a little bit when you hear General Ramirez tell it. But that I went up there for my new student conference, and I didn't get a dorm room. The dorms were full. So I went up there for new student conference, and the goal was to try to find an apartment, and I was appalled. This was in the mid-'70s. The school had gone through a lot of growth, but added no dorms, and the apartments were lagging, so they were supply and demand expensive. And I was kind of in shock. I can't afford to go to this school if I can't find a cheaper way to live. And I heard if you join the Cadet Corps, you got a dorm room. They were the cheapest dorms on campus up there as opposed to now for here. And I had hair down on my shoulders, and I walked into the military science building in College Station and said, hi, I want to join the Corps. And this guy laughed out loud and he says, hey Gunny, we got another one. And there was nobody more surprised than my parents when I came home from that conference. They said, I solved the housing problem, but I got to get a haircut. Anyway, it was one thing led to the other. I went up there, got into engineering, and to my shock, I had zero desire to go in the military. That wasn't part of my plan at all. And as doors close and other windows open, and you find opportunities and stuff, I had discovered that there were a lot of great opportunities by going into the military. And then they offered me a 3.5-year ROTC scholarship, and you're singing my song. I had a brother coming a year behind me, and we weren't sure how we were going to afford that for two of us in college at once. So that big ROTC scholarship made all the difference in the world. He's now a dentist in Corpus Christi. I have another brother that followed me to A&M. He was 6 years younger than me, and he also studied engineering, went into the Air Force, and then lives in Spokane, Washington, where he's a businessman up there now. And this is really kind of bizarre, but as of last night, he is a survival game show winner. It's a new show called Kicking and Screaming, season 1. And I will never play poker with him again. I knew he went, and they filmed it and finished filming in May, but he managed to not tell anybody, including his wife. I don't know where he explained to her the $250,000 came from in the bank account, but anyway. So yeah, we're a strange family. And he's not a survivalist. He's an Eagle Scout and a Scoutmaster, as am I, and my other brother. We're all a big scouting family. Anyway, so got to A&M, studied engineering, and then I decided, okay, I'll go in the Air Force. I'll give them 4 years in exchange for 3.5 years of education. And then the next thing I know, I was applying to grad school. So instead of going, to an Air Force engineering job, I went into the Air Force and went to grad school. So the Air Force paid for a 1.5 years for me to get a master's degree in engineering. And at the end of that, I owed them 4 years. not 4 more, but just 4 years. So that was a really good deal. I worked at Johnson Space Center during that time right after grad school. I got a job where the Air Force loaned me over to Johnson Space Center, and I was very fortunate to work STS-3, the third shuttle flight. It was the first one I worked in mission control. I was having so much trouble getting through engineering school and stuff. The idea of actually flying in space was such a far distant memory, I don't even remember having it. But when I got to NASA, it was exciting. I loved the work, and my office was actually down the hall from the astronaut office, and I found myself shocked after working there about 6 months to find out they're not gods. Okay, they're almost like normal people. Some are more normal than others. That they're good at what they do. They're smart. They work hard. They've got a sense of humor, and most will admit to an element of luck associated with getting the job. So it was that kind of awakened that dream in me. And there were a couple of the astronauts, Jerry Ross, who is still around the Clear Lake area, and Ellison Onizuka, who died on Challenger in 1986. But they kind of took me under their wing and encouraged me that I also could be an astronaut. It was a little hard to believe, but whatever. But I needed to do something else. I needed to step up my game a little bit more. And they encouraged me to apply to go to Air Force Test Pilot School to train as a backseat or a flight test engineer. And so I left the greater Bay Area here and NASA and stuff to go off to the California desert. I spent 8 years doing flight tests out there, and I loved that career field. It was just so exciting because it's active, it's new. I got involved with a lot of development of brand new things, new technologies that had never been done before, so I had to figure out how to test these things. And I started applying to be an astronaut. And I submitted my first application in 1985, just as I was finishing up test pilot school. And that one, they had the accident actually a month later, and it's the first accident, so that one just died on the vine, nothing happened.